So talk about this widening gap between the college cost and family incomes. And then, in addition to that, the sticker price versus actual price, I had no clue until I met you and learned about TuitionFit, that, you could like negotiate, your price with college. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. There was a headline not too long ago that just said colleges won the marketing war. And the idea behind it was that colleges have made it so that the public just assumes that, yeah, it's really hard to get into colleges. And there's way more people trying to get in than those colleges have spots for. But the reality across higher education has shifted dramatically as really supply and demand has sort of played out. So to get back to the question about how all of this shifted, well, most people I think know that while certain parts of our families, the socioeconomic status, their incomes have gone up pretty dramatically, a large proportion of the American populace, their family incomes have stayed relatively flat for several decades. But colleges and universities still need to get far more than just those folks to go to college, right? And there's been this big push that everybody needs some sort of higher education after high school. So what colleges did was they just said, well, we'll just give more and more aid out to the folks who don't fit into that real upper echelon of income. And they've had to just keep doing that over the course of several decades as they kept increasing their sticker prices. And so you've got this sort of growing financial aid pot that's a sort of making up the difference between where families are and that sort of mythical sticker price. So when colleges started to get on this higher price, higher discount idea, it was still a time in which the number of students graduating from high school was growing. Colleges thought, well, we're always going to have more demand than there is supply. Underneath that, though, as family income stayed flat, colleges started to realize we're having to give more and more aid to get these people to come to our schools. So we're going to have to shift our financial model to more of a big box store sort of framework. And so we're going to have to make our money on growing the size of each freshman class. But underneath that, colleges are making less and less money off of each freshman class. And so they're saying, you know what? We just have to get more kids every year. That's how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Well, about 2012, we stopped getting more and more kids graduating from high school every year. And that number started to flatten out. So now that whole big box store model is really in trouble, right? Because there's just not more kids to go to college each year. And now the only way you're going to get more is if you're going to get more and more students that wouldn't have gone to college to now go. Those students also tend to be ones that are coming from lower income, so they need more financial aid. And you can see now this whole system starts to creak and groan a bit because it's not really going to work if you don't have more and more kids graduating from high school every year. So now there's way more supply than there is demand. And that sets up the ability to negotiate. So now you can go to schools and schools are just saying, like, look, we're not going to make any money off of freshmen because we got to discount this so much and we just got to get them in the door. And we will give them a dollar amount for your financial aid, but we'll increase tuition every year after this. So we'll make our money on sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And freshmen are just sort of a lost leader, but we got to get them in the door. Otherwise, we'll never get a chance to make that money. So what that opens up is the ability for families to say to a college, look, we can't pay this, but if you can give me another couple $1,000s, I think we can make that work. It's gotten to the point now where many colleges and universities, especially schools that are sort of off the national radar, the first offer they give you, not their best offer. So you can absolutely negotiate with about 80% of the colleges and universities out there. Harvard's not going to negotiate. Flagship universities in a given state probably aren't going to negotiate in a given year. But small colleges that are regional public institutions that usually have a direction in the front of their name, absolutely.
I would guess too, with, you know, the thought that millennials are, you know, getting married later, you know, kind of establishing their home later, having potentially children later, that this supply demand issue will, I would guess, kind of be an ongoing thing at this point.
Yes. Well, come about 2024, 2025, count back 17 years from that, and you get to 2007.
Yep.
I heard, rumor has it, that we had a huge recession about that time.
We
Right?
did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So birth rates shrunk dramatically right there, and they have stayed shrunk as
Yeah.
millennials have gotten into the having a young adult life and first job, second job, thinking about married, thinking about those folks have, for a lot of reasons, and one of them is the sort of crazy student loan mess we got ourselves into. They're
Yeah.
not having as many kids and they're having them later. So we don't see anything changing in terms of the number of kids graduating from high school. We see a cliff at about 2024. It drops like a stone and stays dropped until the early 2030s, where we thought we were going to start to see a little bump, and then we had COVID. So
Okay. Yep.
the numbers for the colleges don't work in their favor unless a whole bunch of colleges and universities go under in the next several years, and that might start to balance the equation a little bit. But
Yeah.
even then, the public is in a position of power just on the supply demand balancing scales right now.
Yeah.
And
That's
the
great.
thing they don't have is they didn't know you could negotiate. They didn't
Yeah.
know that the actual prices are oftentimes 2/3 what the sticker price is. They don't
Yeah.
know all this stuff. And so you get your information from, well, what was it like when your parents went to school?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, all that information is no longer relevant.